Hello everybody, welcome back to MoMoVs Bazaar, doing a bit of a different style of video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the top 5 changes I would make to the Bazaar going forward, especially into the new year. A lot of cool things that they could do, and this is just my personal opinion after playing so many games, of some changes that could really benefit and add to the uniqueness for more cooler runs that you can pull off in the Bazaar. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this. Top 5 changes, yada yada, here we go. Number 1, first thing I'd be doing here is changing how Regen works, right? It feels more of a supportive role and not so much as, something you really want to build around, right? You have certain items here like, what I have up here is Tropical Island, which you see over here, or solar farms that give you regen, right? And solar farms kind of feels so out of place. I'm glad that they added it to it, but regen feels really out of place. All you really mostly care about is the haste that it gives to other items, right? Getting some regen throughout the fight is kind of cute, whatever, but it doesn't really add to anything. Now, where can you take this? I think what you could do is maybe, rebalance this item because it might get a little too broken. You have the citrus and the glands over here that both give +1 regen when you sell this. You see up here, and based on its tier, it gives more regen. I think you could instead maybe keep that, right? But maybe if you have one of these regen items on your board, maybe it increases the amount of regen it gives, right? So for instance, solar farms here, if its silver tier has 4, you sell the glands or the citrus, it sees you have a regen item on the board and increase that regen maybe to +5, +6, +7, etc., right? So now you're building your regen amount similar to how, poison and burn builds their item amount, right? If you have poison extract, you have cinders, right? Increases the amount of burn, the amount of poison that an item would do. So why not do the same thing for regen, right? I don't think it'd be incredibly broken. Furthermore, it would give more of a viable build to go for. I think it would be pretty unique to maybe implement this. So I think that's the first change. These aren't in any order, but that's something I think would be cool to see. So, besides regen needing a bit of a rework, I'm curious, hey, anything you guys know, what your thoughts on this? Maybe there's some other stuff you want to see? Let me know. Because a lot of changes can happen, especially before release date, which is coming up. So, regen, first thing to take a look at. Second thing goes hand in hand, kind of. Maybe healing needs to be taken a look at real quick, right? Because right now in the current meta and everything else, healing feels pretty lackluster to say. It's definitely more of a supporting thing than anything else. While there are some good healing builds out there, they really are lackluster, and namely because of, besides getting one shot by a certain build, poison, right? I was going back and forth with someone in the comments about healing and poison, how they should work, and had really good ideas that maybe, the bigger healing the item is, it should give a more percentage of poison reduction versus just one, right? Because if you have one big heal that goes every 8 seconds, there's no way in heck you're keeping up with a monitor lizard, which is poisoning, hundreds of poison at a time, right? There'd have to be a balance there, but something like that, like maybe large items remove more poison while also healing you, etc., right? So some way, another tool to counter poison in a way. Of course, the big culprit here is Monitor Lizard is pretty busted at the moment. Definitely one of the stronger builds, not unbeatable, but definitely stronger, right? And really goes to show that something else that can counteract this would be cool. But for what I'm trying to say is for like the better, the better off the game to have healing and poison interact a bit differently, right? So something along those lines would be nice to see. maybe going forward, right? Because just removing one poison every time you heal is pretty lackluster. So poison amount, right, that you're gonna hit for. So anyways, moving on from poison healing interactions, we're gonna take a look at this one. Is personal near dear to me, is the old port versus the new port, right? So they changed how the old port worked, where you used to get a small ammo item from any class, and you'd mostly get Mac potions, but this really led to some creative and interesting games, right? I mean, this is probably one of the more high rollies of a game where you get multiple frost potions, and that's like, yeah, it's not nice to see, because it's a bit skewed and makes things a little too strong, but it led to some interesting games, right? Where you could have some fire potions over here, some freezing potions, hasty potions, like and piece together between Vanessa's ammo items, Mac potion items, and then you could even get some dually ammo items. I don't know if Stell has any, but something along those lines, right? So getting ammo item from any class led to pretty diverse games, which I really liked. And so they took that away mostly with the new port. Is they will only give you Vanessa items, and you start getting boards looking like this, right? 3 grenades, 3 bolas, like it's a different way of playing. You gotta adapt to it, which is fine. But personally, I like the variety that getting any small ammo item added to the game. And that's just you get spices from pig, like that type of thing is like that's kind of fun. I did enjoy that aspect there. So I think going forward, maybe they take a look at this, maybe revert this. And on a similar note, you'll notice that most of the things I'm advocating for are going to spice up the game a little more meta, right? And I think that's all healthy. Maybe do it in rotations, whatever. So on that same note, Shipment. What the heck did they do to Shipment, right? This one I was most like, port, yeah, I guess it was annoying to get a whole bunch of frost potions. That didn't always happen, but you got 4 frost potions freezing up the entire board, whatever. Shipment, why? So they changed it from Shipment spawns mostly pig items, and mostly is whatever number. I get maybe 1 item from a different class every 4 or 5 times I sell this thing. Also, having them spawn a tier lower it's annoying. Like for port, it kind of made sense because getting diamond items every time this thing was diamond, the old port, I think that was a little busted. So getting the port items a tier lower makes sense. Shipment items is you're not always finding this. It's a pig large item, right? How often are you buying Shipment? Maybe once a run for me. So having them come at a tier lower is the first thing that's annoying. Second thing is only getting pig items. It leads to less diverse games, which is something I want to advocate for. Like certain items, I advocate for more RNG, more diversity, because it makes things more interesting, more fun. So the thing with Shipment is just let it get items from any class, right? What's the big deal? You can really pull off some really cool and interesting things if you get items from all different classes and put them together, right? Maybe they had a hero that's like all the classes. Like that's my type of thing. A little more RNG. But then you end up getting like 2 or 3 yo-yos out of this thing, right? And it's like now I have a really super insane busted run, busted build. So take it as is. I think it's an overall maybe buff to Shipment. But that being said, just less diverse games, right? And that's what I really want to look for most of these changes. So yeah. Anyways, moving on from Shipment to my last change that I would maybe implement or work, maybe tweak on, right? These are just suggestions. I'm curious what you guys think. Is the starting items. Now, I was giving some real thought into this, and I liked it for a while because sometimes you get a starting item and a starting skill, right? That really didn't synergize together. Maybe you got, leftmost item burns 4, right? or something like that, and you get no burn items for like the first 3 or 4 days, it feels terrible, right? You're gonna have a harder time getting your run going, and you're really pivoted into, because it's a gold tier skill, getting a burn item to make up for that. So I get it, it fleshes out the early game better, but there's certain starting items that just really aren't that okay. Namely, like getting a silver tier port or silver tier beast of burden is crazy. I've seen gold tier beast of burdens, regal blades, ports by day 2 or 3, and that's like a little more often than not, right? So it's a little too consistent for my taste. And you get a scaling bob, it one-shots you by day 3 or 4 most of the time. So, just something to look at. Maybe they could spice up the starting items, starting run. Maybe they could do this in like an ebb and flow, right? Like maybe a couple weeks, your starting item, you get choice of 4, no skill. Maybe the next week, you get a starting choice of 2 items and option of like 3 or 4 skills or something, right? Like there's some crazy stuff you can do to spice up the starting runs, and also like balance it a little bit, because again, like a starting bob is just like, why would you, there's not too much reason to pivot, because it's going to carry you almost all the way to endgame probably, and your game plan is pretty repetitive at that point. So just something to consider. I'm curious more often than not what your guys' thoughts are, right? Because let me chill out here with this guy by the campfire. Yo, we're chilling right now. So while we're chilling by his campfire, that's all the thoughts I had for the most part of what you could do to the changes I'd personally like to see, and certain ones that just probably should happen. That's my overview so far of, there's a couple more things, but those are the big ones I want to touch on. Namely the regen, port, shipment, that type of thing. Healing versus poison is a big one. So those are ones that stand out to me. You guys, let me know, comment down below. What are the changes you'd make? What would you like to see? Do you agree with mine? Disagree? Please let me know. I think it'd be cool to find out. So without further ado, if you got this far, like, subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with MoMoVs The Bazaar. And until next one, I will see you later. Bye bye.